Hello doctors. I'm Dr. O'Mahony, and I truly hope this message finds you in the best of health and high spirits. Welcome to the third episode of our heartfelt series, Secrets of Mastering Homeopathy. It brings me immense joy to know that these episodes are not just reaching you, but resonating with you, helping shape your journey into becoming an empathetic, insightful, and dedicated homeopath. Today, I want to take a moment to share a personal experience. You might wonder, why is this important? What can I possibly learn from it? Well, allow me to explain with a relatable example. You know those inspirational homeopathic professors, the ones you've admired since med school? The ones whose clinical brilliance and successful cases leave you in awe? Their perfect prescriptions, their calm, confident presence in practice? Trust me, they didn't reach that stature overnight. Behind that excellence lies years of quiet consistency, countless small learnings, and patient observation. Each case, each failure, each breakthrough all became stepping stones in their stairway to mastery. Homeopathy is not just a science, it's a deeply intuitive art. Unlike many other healing systems, it demands that we grow with it slowly, meaningfully, and with unwavering sincerity. So as you walk your own path, remember, every small insight you gain today becomes a brick in the foundation of the healer you are becoming tomorrow. Let's continue to grow together, one episode, one experience, one revelation at a time. Homeopathy is a world apart from all other systems of healing. It's not just about selecting remedies, it's about growing into the kind of healer who feels each prescription from the heart. Whenever we look around and admire the truly successful homeopaths, the ones who have dedicated their lives to this noble science, we must realize something very important. Their greatness didn't just come from textbooks or theory. It came from their experiences. Those tiny, seemingly ordinary moments that shaped their clinical intuition. Think of Dr. Samuel Hahnemann, Dr. James Tyler Kent. Their books are filled not just with materia medica, but with reflections of their lived experiences, clinical struggles, breakthroughs, observations, the real stories that mold their wisdom. And yet, many of us tend to dismiss these small anecdotes. We think, well, what's the point of this? Just teach me the remedy. But here's the truth, until you allow that aura of deeper understanding to build within you, you won't feel connected to homeopathy with true passion. When I think of my own journey, I often go back to the mentors and professors who inspired me to choose homeopathy in the first place. I used to keenly observe not just what they prescribed, but how they handled each moment. Their failures, reflections, tiny tips, everything. And over time, those small experiences became my foundation. So here's a personal study tip I offer to every medical student. Turn your teacher's experience into your own. If your mentor has 20 years of experience, don't wait 20 years to gain it. Absorb it. There's no need to fall into every pit on your path just because others did. Let their mistakes, their patterns, their learnings light your way forward. When you start doing this, people will notice your growth. They'll say, "How are your results improving so quickly?" But the truth is, it's not about speed. It's about wisdom borrowed through experience. Every great homeopath rises not only through patient cases, but through personal trials, be it family hardships, emotional setbacks, or clinical dilemmas. All of these shape the inner compass of a healer. And that, my friends, is what builds clinical maturity. The real reason I'm sharing this with you today is simple. Start learning from the homeopaths around you. When they share a small case, a clinical tip, or a personal struggle, listen carefully. You may not have encountered that situation yet, but by learning how they handled it, you're already one step ahead. You may not have lived the moment, but you've already learned how to respond when it arrives. And that is the magic. In today's video, I'll be sharing one such small yet powerful experience from my own practice. Stay with me, because sometimes, the smallest story holds the biggest key. Let me take you back to my internship days. It was the final stretch of my medical college journey. Our hospital had a beautiful culture, even admitted patients were often treated with homeopathy. And as interns, we were given the responsibility to observe, take detailed case histories, and care for these patients. But before I go deeper, let me share a powerful realization from that phase. There are two kinds of students. The first kind? Always complaining. They don't teach us enough. There's no proper system. This is missing, that's missing. And then there's the second kind. The kind that follows one golden principle. Start now, with whatever you have. This was the only thing I lived by, and it changed everything. From my very first year, I was deeply passionate about learning and practicing homeopathy. So no matter how small the opportunity was, if a teacher was sharing an experience, I was there listening intently, noting it down, and later studying it deeply. Now, during internship, we weren't allowed to prescribe medicines to patients. But I didn't let that limit me. I created my own learning ground. I would walk into the IPD wards daily, moving from patient to patient, taking cases with full dedication even when I wasn't the one giving them medicine. That's where I learned the art of case taking. I would try to connect their pathology with their personality, their mental state, their unresolved life struggles, and slowly, everything started to click. And the more I interacted with patients, the more they started opening up. After pouring their hearts out, they would obviously expect something in return. Like, I've told you everything, now what will I get in return? I couldn't prescribe medicines. But what I could offer was healing through words. So I started conducting counseling sessions with patients. I'd listen, guide, reflect back their emotions, offer comfort. And it worked. Patients felt heard, seen, and emotionally lighter even without a prescription. That phase shaped me in ways no textbook ever could. My communication skills grew. I learned the fine art of emotional connection. And I discovered the unteachable skills, the intuition and sensitivity that develop only when you spend real time with real people. Because honestly, no amount of materia medica study at home can teach you how to handle a patient. And every patient is different. You'll meet 100 different temperaments. An angry patient needs a different approach. A withdrawn, anxious patient needs a softer touch. Your tone, body language, and questioning style, everything has to adapt. So to every medical student listening today, don't waste your college years waiting for the perfect system or more resources. Your internship, your hospital, your teachers, even your patient interactions are full of untapped wisdom. Make the most of what you already have. Do the extra work. Observe everything. Go beyond just case taking, connect with your patients. Because this is where the real learning begins. A day from my internship that I'll never forget. It started like any other day. I was in the IPD ward, taking a patient's case. I followed my usual routine, took a detailed history, engaged with the patient, tried to understand her mental state, and then offered a short counseling session after analyzing her symptoms. She seemed deeply relaxed by the end of our conversation, calm, lighter somehow. Days passed. I had moved on to other patients. Then, 2 days later, while I was quietly seated in the IPD, I felt a gentle tap on my shoulder from behind. I turned around. A young woman stood there, draped in a simple saree, her expression tense but polite. She softly said, "Doctor, can I speak to you alone for just 2 minutes?" I nodded and walked with her to a quieter corner. There, she looked into my eyes and said, "The patient you spoke to 2 days ago, that was my mother." She continued, "I was sitting nearby. I heard everything you said to her. I don't know why, but that day I felt I need to talk to you too." At first, I couldn't even remember which patient she was talking about, there were so many. But then she said, "Doctor, I don't want medicine. I just want to talk. Please, just listen to me." I observed her closely. A beautiful woman, probably in her late 20s. Dullness in her eyes, nervousness in her body language, a visible sense of shame wrapped in hesitation, yet her innocence shone through. She spoke in Marathi. Coming from a humble rural background, she had been married into a wealthy family. Her mother was unwell, and she had accompanied her to the hospital. But now, here she was confiding in a stranger because clearly, she had no one else. When a person gathers the courage to approach someone they don't know, to speak about something they've buried for long, you must understand, that's their last hope. They have no one in their life who they can safely speak to because they're afraid of being judged, misunderstood, or dismissed. Her hesitation was not just about words. It was cultural, emotional, and deeply rooted in the modesty we grow up with, especially in rural India. Some wounds are so personal, so silent, that even the tongue refuses to speak them aloud. She finally shared, in a whisper, "Doctor, I've been married for about a year now. My husband is kind, soft-spoken, never abusive, but recently, I've started feeling he's not interested in me anymore." She paused, and then added the words that were weighing on her heart, "I think he's having an extramarital affair." Imagine the ache of a woman who deeply loves her husband, who has no one to turn to, whose family is struggling, and who feels emotionally abandoned in her own home. She didn't want a divorce. She didn't want revenge. She just wanted her husband back. She wanted her marriage to feel whole again. She confessed, "I've spoken to him, but nothing seems to affect him. I'm losing sleep. I cry in silence. And I can't share this with anyone, not even my mother. She's unwell too. I feel like I'm collapsing from the inside." As a doctor, this is where your role transforms into something far beyond just case-taking. You must read between the lines. You must assess, is this emotional pain repairable? Is this a situation that can be healed? Or has it crossed into the irreparable? In her case, the answer was clear: she was still holding on with love. This wasn't a case for separation or escape, it was a case of reconnection and emotional rebuilding. And that's why, in rural or semi-urban settings, you must step into your patient's shoes. You cannot apply a one-size-fits-all approach. Empathy becomes your greatest diagnostic tool. She wasn't an independent, assertive woman who could simply walk away. She was vulnerable, dependent, modest, carrying a world of unspoken burdens. Fortunately, I had seen similar cases in the past and had learned a lot about human behavior and the patterns of emotional suffering. This is what real-life experience teaches you: how to spot emotional betrayal. How to distinguish between a narcissist and someone suffering from PTSD. Who's gaslighting? Who's genuinely confused? Who needs validation? Who just needs to be heard? So I did what a true homeopath and healer must do: I listened. I supported. I gave her space to breathe, to cry, to feel heard. I gently calmed her fears and helped her restore her self-confidence. Because when you give a patient mental peace, you become more than a doctor, you become their anchor. You know, when we go to some allopathic doctors, their harsh tone and rushed consultations give you anxiety before even hearing the diagnosis. But in homeopathy, we believe healing starts the moment a patient feels safe. And that's exactly what I gave her: hope. I offered her a heartfelt piece of advice, one she chose to follow. And in that moment, I saw something shift within her: a flicker of strength, a quiet determination, and the sense that she wasn't alone anymore. This experience taught me that sometimes, the remedy isn't just in the bottle. It's in our presence. Our patience. Our understanding. Our words. And that's what makes homeopathy a healing art. Now, what was that advice I gave her, the one she followed so beautifully that within just a week, she returned with her husband, smiling, for her mother's checkup? It was simple, yet deeply transformative. I told her to remain completely unbothered and emotionally unaffected by his disloyalty. To stop reacting, and instead, start nurturing herself through self-love. I explained that this entire situation had unfolded because she had lost connection with herself, with her worth, her confidence, and her dignity. I told her, you don't need to stoop to his level. Never mirror his actions. Never retaliate by doing the same. Let your dignity speak. Let your silence reflect your strength. Show him you were raised by a woman of grace. I encouraged her to continue doing his daily chores, but emotionally disconnect. Focus entirely on self-care. Take care of your body, your mind, your emotions. Dress beautifully. Take your mother out for a walk. Go shopping. Eat something nice. Shift your mind from sadness to celebration, not for him, but for yourself. I reminded her that a lack of self-love is like slowly abandoning yourself, slipping into sadness, depression, self-doubt. And for some people, even basic self-care becomes a mountain when they're emotionally broken. So I made it easy. I asked her to just dress well, go out, eat something with her mom, and breathe in the world again. We don't fight dirt with dirt. We don't lower our morals to match someone else's flaws. I told her, let him have the freedom he's misusing. Watch how far he dares to go without your attention. But you stay dignified. My advice was not to argue or plead, but to rise. Rise in energy. Rise in self-worth. To feel good in her own skin. To be unbothered by his betrayal and start thriving not for revenge, but for restoration. She followed everything I said. She held on to every word like it was a lifeline. And most importantly, she acted on it. I told her, your respect lies in your own hands. If someone disrespects you by cheating, don't echo their disrespect. Respect yourself more. Eventually, they will have no choice but to do the same. And then, 1 week later, she walked into the hospital. I almost didn't recognize her. The dullness had vanished. She looked radiant, well-dressed, graceful and more importantly, at peace. She smiled and said, "Doctor, I'm the one who spoke to you a week ago, about my husband." I instantly remembered. And then she pointed her husband who was standing with her mother a distance away, accompanying her for her mother's checkup. With eyes full of gratitude, she said, "Thank you, doctor. I followed everything you said. And now, things are different. Our relationship is healthy. He never leaves me alone anymore. He's not into any affair. He talks to me. He's present. I'm happy again." And then, with a shy smile, she added, "You're a very good doctor." That moment, I felt it deep in my heart, the kind of fulfillment words can never fully describe. This is the beauty of our profession, to lighten someone's unseen burden and to receive their silent blessings in return. That day, I truly felt at peace. Because while we often talk about healing through medicines, sometimes your words, presence, and counsel become the real medicine. These are the qualities every doctor must carry within, the ability to provide a patient with clarity, hope, and strength even without a prescription. Counseling doesn't come from books. It comes from listening, observing, and connecting. When a patient walks into your room with a visible problem, often there are hidden emotional locks surrounding it. You can only help if your own thinking is clear, your morals grounded, and your intention honest. This experience taught me something very profound. When you interact with a patient, your words don't just reach them. They reach the people around them too. Sometimes, even silent listeners are being healed by your energy. And especially in females, there's a natural intuitive intelligence, a kind of emotional radar. They observe deeply, catch energies quickly, and sense immediately whether a person is safe or not. She was so low that first day, depressed, lonely, and almost lifeless in her tone. But the next time I met her, she was unrecognizable. There was glow on her face, light in her voice, strength in her posture. She radiated joy. Why did the advice work magically in this case? Let's understand it in deep and scientific way. Dress well and focus on self-care. Why it worked. Boosts dopamine and confidence. Dressing well triggers dopamine release, improving mood, motivation, and self-worth. Rewire self-image. When she looked better, she felt better. This reprograms the subconscious from victimhood to power. Mirror effect. The brain responds to how we visually present ourselves. Dressing up sends signals to the brain that I am valuable. Alters partner's perception. Her transformation challenged the husband's perception, evoking curiosity or even regret. Ignore him, remain unbothered and enjoy with your mom. You must be wondering, why it worked? Because of withdrawal supply. Narcissistic cheating partners feed off your reactions. Ignoring cuts their emotional control. Shifts power dynamics. She reclaimed her power by not reacting. Emotionally detaching makes the partner feel replaced, not chased. Trigger's psychological mirror, her indifference forced him to reflect, why is she not affected? This disturbs the cheater's emotional security. Neuroplasticity kickstart. By engaging in joyful activities, shopping, food, outings, new neural pathways for pleasure and safety were formed, reducing trauma response. In essence, these two actions shifted her from reactive to empowered, activating healing, magnetism, and emotional resilience, and that attracted the change in her relationship. What we all must remember: lessons from this woman's quiet strength. When someone you trust betrays you, don't let their actions define your worth. Your silence, when filled with dignity, carries more weight than 1,000 angry words. Strength is not in reacting, it's in rising above. You don't need to match someone's disloyalty to prove your pain. Just improve yourself, hold your head high, and walk with grace. When you stop chasing, the one who took you for granted starts noticing. And even if they don't, you haven't lost, you've protected your peace. Remember, your self-respect is your greatest shield. Never trade it for attention. Be unbothered, stay graceful, and let the truth reveal itself. Because those raised with values don't respond with revenge, they respond with self-growth. To all doctors, I want to say this: create a space within yourself that feels safe to others. Be so humble, so open, so grounded that patients feel free to approach you with their deepest wounds, without hesitation. If someone feels safe enough in your presence to share what they've never told anyone, you've already won. So, this was today's case with lots of learning. I hope this became a lesson and an insight for all of you. And until the next case study video, take care of yourself and the people around you. Thank you.
अगर चार चीजें तेरे अंदर मौजूद हों तो दुनिया में तू क्या भी खो दे, कुछ भी खो दे, इसमें कोई अफसोस की बात नहीं है। दुनिया की सारी चीजें भी अगर तू महरूम से रह जाए तब भी कोई अफसोस की बात नहीं। अगर चार चीजें तेरे अंदर हों, वो चार चीजें क्या हैं? आपने फरमाया हिफ्ज़ अमानती, अमानत की हिफाजत करना। अगर कोई आदमी तेरे पास कोई चीज रखे, खियानत नहीं, संभाल के इसको रखे, इसको लौटाना जब वो मांगे। हिफ्ज़ अमानती व सिद्क़ु हदीसिन, बात की सच्चाई, कि जब बात करे झूठ नहीं बोले, सच बात कहे। नंबर 3 व हुस्न खलीक़तिन, अच्छे अखलाक से पेश आना, लोगों के साथ अच्छा सलूक करना, बल्कि अल्लाह के साथ भी अच्छा ताल्लुक रखना। और 4 इफ़्फ़तुन फ़ी तुअमतिन, खाने में पाकी हो, यानी हराम नहीं खाए। इफ़्फ़त के साथ खाना, तेरी ग़िज़ा, तेरा रिज़्क़ हलाल हो। तो एक इंसान अमानतदार हो, एक इंसान सच्चा हो, अच्छे अखलाक वाला हो और हलाल खाता हो, हराम नहीं खाता हो। कहा ये चार चीज़ें अगर तेरे अंदर है तो दुनिया में सारी दुनिया की चीज़ों से तुम महरूम रहे, कोई गम की बात नहीं। ये चार चीज़ें मिल गई तो कामयाब है। तो ये चार चीज़ें इसमें आप देखें, 3 चीज़ें तो हैं, इसमें चौथी चीज़ आपने फरमाया हुस्न खलीक़तिन, कि लोगों के साथ अच्छे अखलाक से पेश आना। अच्छा अखलाक मिलना ये दुनिया की ज़ैब व ज़ीनत से और दुनिया के ख़ज़ानों से ज़्यादा बेहतर है। इस हदीस को इमाम अहमद ने रिवायत किया है। बल्कि अच्छा अखलाक लोगों को करीब करता है। अल्लाह ताला फरमाता है फ़बिमा रहमतिन मिनल्लाहि लिंता लहुम, ऐ नबी ये आपकी रब की रहमत है कि आप लोगों के लिए नरम बना दिए गए हो। वलौ कुन्त फ़ज़्ज़न ग़लीज़ल क़ल्बि लंफ़द्दू मिन हौलिक, अगर आप सख्त ज़ुबान और सख्त दिल होते तो लोग आपसे दूर हो जाते हैं। यहाँ पर आप देखें अल्लाह ताला ने फरमाया ये आपकी रब की रहमत है कि आप लोगों के लिए नरम बना दिया गया कि इंसान लोगों के साथ नरमी से पेश आए। जहाँ सख्ती की जरूरत है वहाँ सख्ती करें। कभी सख्ती की भी जरूरत होती है, नबी सल्लल्लाहु अलैहि वसल्लम भी डांटा करते थे, बीवी को डांटा, मुआज़ बिन जबल को डांटा, और इस तरह से कई मिसालें मिलेंगी आपको। लेकिन आम हालात में आप नरम मिजाज थे। यही वजह है कि आपके अखलाक और नरमी की वजह से बड़े छोटे सभी आपसे मोहब्बत करते थे, आपसे करीब होते थे। इसलिए फरमाया कि अगर आप सख्त जुबान सख्त दिल होते तो आपसे दूर हो जाते हैं। इसी तरह से अल्लाह के नबी सल्लल्लाहु अलैहि वसल्लम फरमाया अकमलुल मुमिनीना ईमानन अहसनुहुम खुलुक़ा, मालूम हुआ कि ईमान और अखलाक का ताल्लुक है। आपने फरमाया तुम्हें सबसे कामिल ईमान वाले लोग वो हैं जो तुम्हें अखलाक में बेहतर हो। तुम्हें सबसे कामिल ईमान वाले वो हैं जो अखलाक में बेहतर हो, क्योंकि अखलाक और ईमान का एक ताल्लुक है। अच्छा अखलाक तभी आता है जब इंसान के अंदर अच्छा ईमान हो। अच्छा अखलाक कब आता है? लोगों के साथ आदमी अच्छा सलूक कब करता है? जब उसे अल्लाह से मिलने की उम्मीद हो। वो मखलूक के साथ अच्छा सलूक करता है, अपने बराए सबसे अच्छा पेश आता है। क्यों? वो चाहता है कि अल्लाह भी उसके साथ अच्छा मामला करे। मैं बंदों के साथ अच्छा मामला करूंगा ताकि अल्लाह मेरे साथ अच्छा मामला करे। इरहमु मन फिल अर्द यरहमकुम मन फिस समा, तुम जमीन वालों पर रहम करो, आसमान वाला तुम पर रहम करेगा। वो लोगों के साथ मखलूक के साथ अच्छा पेश आता है ताकि अल्लाह से अच्छा पेश आए। ईमान के नतीजे में ये होता है। ये अल्लाह के खौफ की वजह से ऐसा होता है कि मैंने लोगों पर जुल्म किया, मैंने खियानत की, मैंने धोखा दिया, मैंने सताया, तो क़यामत के दिन अल्लाह के यहाँ पकड़ होगी। तो ये अल्लाह का खौफ, आखिरत की फिक्र होती है जो इंसान को जुल्म से, ज़्यादती से, धोखे से और खियानत से रोकता है। तो अच्छा अखलाक आला ईमान का नतीजा होता है। अच्छा अखलाक कमाल ईमान का रिजल्ट होता है। जब ईमान पक्का होता है तो अखलाक भी अच्छा होता है। मालूम हुआ कि अगर अखलाक में खराबी है तो ये ईमान की कमजोरी की वजह से है। बुरे अखलाक का होना ईमान की कमजोरी का नतीजा होता है। तो अगर हम अपने अंदर बदअखलाकी पा रहे हैं तो हमको अपने ईमान की फिक्र करना चाहिए। और अगर कोई आदमी अच्छे अखलाक वाला है तो ये अगर वो मोमिन है, मुसलमान है, तो यकीनन ये ईमान की वजह से, उसके ईमान का समरा है कि उसके अखलाक अच्छे हैं। तो ये अखलाक और ईमान में ताल्लुक है। बल्कि अल्लाह के नबी सल्लल्लाहु अलैहि वसल्लम ने इबादत के एतबार से अखलाक का सवाब नफल इबादत से भी ज्यादा बताया है। अच्छा अखलाक क्यों जरूरी, हमको अच्छा इंसान क्यों बनना चाहिए? अल्लाह के नबी सल्लल्लाहु अलैहि वसल्लम फरमाते हैं इन्नल मुमिना ला युद्रिकु बिहुस्नि खुलुक़िही दरजत अस्साइमिल क़ाइम, एक ईमान वाला अपने अच्छे अखलाक की वजह से रात में क़ियामुल लैल करने वाले और दिन में नफल रोज़ा रखने वाले का मर्तबा पा लेता है। एक आदमी, एक ईमान वाला अपने अच्छे अखलाक की वजह से क़ाइमुल लैल व साइमुन नहार, दिन में नफल रोज़ा रखने वाला और रात में तहज्जुद पढ़ने वाला, इनका मर्तबा पा लेता है अपने अखलाक की वजह से। तो इबादत अपनी जगह अहम है, नवाफिल की फजीलत अपनी जगह है, लेकिन अखलाक की अपनी अहमियत है। تو ایک انسان اگر اپنے اخلاق کو درست کر لے تو وہ نفل روزہ رکھنے والے اور نفل تہجد پڑھنے والے کا بھی مقام پا سکتا ہے. ایسا اللہ کے نبی صلی اللہ علیہ وسلم فرمایا, یہ ابو داؤد کی حدیث ہے, صحیح حدیث ہے. اسی طرح سے آپ نے فرمایا کہ ما من شیء اثقل فی المیزان من حسن الخلق, قیامت کے دن اچھے اخلاق سے زیادہ انسان کے پردے میں تلنے والی اور کوئی چیز نہیں. قیامت کے دن ایمان کے بعد, بلکہ اخلاق کا تعلق ایمان سے آپ نے دیکھ لیا, قیامت کے دن اگر انسان کی نیکیوں کے پردے میں رکھی جائیں گی تو آپ نے فرمایا اچھے اخلاق سے زیادہ کوئی چیز نہیں جو انسان کی میزان میں بھاری ہو, وزنی. لہٰذا انسان کو اپنے اخلاق کو بہتر بنانے کے لیے فکر کرنا چاہیے. اکثر اوقات ہوتا ہی ہے کہ آدمی عبادات کر لیتا ہے اور بہت ساری چیزیں کرتا ہے, ذکر کرتا ہے, تلاوت کرتا ہے, سب کچھ کرتا ہے, لیکن اس کے اخلاق اچھے نہیں ہوتے. اللہ کے نبی صلی اللہ علیہ وسلم سے ایک عورت کے بارے میں پوچھا گیا کہ ایک عورت ہے جو رات میں تہجد پڑھتی ہے اور صدقہ کرتی ہے, اور اس کی نماز اور اس کی صدقات کی وجہ سے اس کے چرچے ہیں کہ بہت نماز پڑھتی ہے, بہت صدقے کرتی ہے, لیکن بات یہ ہے کہ وہ اپنے پڑوسیوں کو اپنی زبان سے تکلیف دیتی ہے. تو بلسانہا جا رہا بلسانہا, وہ اپنی زبان سے اپنے پڑوسیوں کو تکلیف دیتی ہے. آپ نے فرمایا لا خیر فیہا ہی من اہل النار, یا ہی فی النار, اس میں کوئی بھلائی نہیں ہے, اس عورت میں کوئی بھلائی نہیں ہے, وہ جہنمی عورت ہے. سوچیے, نماز پڑھنے والی عورت, صدقات کرنے والی عورت, لیکن اخلاق اس کا اچھا نہیں, زبان سے پڑوسیوں کو تکلیف دیتی ہے. آج ہم کتنے لوگ ہیں جو پڑوسیوں کو واقعی ویسا ان کے ساتھ سلوک نہیں کرتے جیسا کرنا چاہیے. تو کہا کہ پڑوسیوں کو اپنی زبان سے ستاتی ہے, لڑتی جھگڑتی, غیبت کرتی ہے, گالی گلوچ, نہ جانے کتنی برائیاں, زبان سے تکلیف دیتی ہے, ہاتھ سے بھی نہیں, صرف زبان سے تکلیف دیتی ہے. آپ نے فرمایا لا خیر فیہا ہی فی النار, اس میں کوئی بھلائی نہیں اس عورت میں, نماز پڑھتی ہے, صدقہ کرتی ہے, کوئی بھلائی نہیں. کہا کوئی بھلائی اس میں نہیں ہے, وہ جہنم میں ہے. اس سے معلوم ہوتا ہے کہ انسان کو جہاں عبادات کا اہتمام کرنا چاہیے وہیں اخلاق کا بھی اہتمام کرنا چاہیے. بعض اوقات انسان عبادات میں اچھا ہوتا ہے لیکن وہ اخلاق میں اچھا نہیں ہوتا ہے, بلکہ بعض اوقات عبادات کا اپنا ایک گھمنڈ ہوتا ہے, علم کا اپنا ایک گھمنڈ ہوتا ہے. کسی کے پاس علم آ جائے اس میں گھمنڈ آ جاتا ہے, میرے پاس علم ہے, میں عالم ہوں. کسی کے پاس عبادات ہوتی ہے, میں عابد ہوں, میں دوسروں سے زیادہ عبادت کرتا ہوں, یہ سب سوئے رہتے ہیں, میں تہجد پڑھتا ہوں, یہ تلاوت نہیں کرتے, میں تلاوت کرتا ہوں, ذکر نہیں کرتے, میں ذکر کرتا ہوں. یہ قسم کا گھمنڈ آ جاتا ہے, انسان دوسروں کا حق سمجھنے لگتا ہے, اور اس کا نتیجہ یہ ہوتا ہے کہ پھر وہ اپنی زبان سے ان کو تکلیف دینا بھی شروع کرتا ہے, دل دکھاتا ہے. اور عورتوں میں عام طور سے چیز دیکھنے میں آتی ہے کہ زبان کے ذریعے سے وہ اذیت پہنچاتی ہیں. اس لیے کہا کہ لا خیر فیہا ہی فی النار, اس میں کوئی بھلائی نہیں, وہ جہنم ہے. تو معلوم ہوا کہ جہاں انسان اپنی عبادات کا اہتمام کرے وہیں اپنے اخلاق کو بھی بہتر بنائے. اللہ رب العالمین ہم سب کو سمجھ عطا فرمائے اور اللہ کا بندہ صحیح معنوں میں بننے کی توفیق دے اور لوگوں سے بھی اچھے سلوک کی توفیق عطا فرمائے.